The morning started like any other day on Nexus Prime, the biggest space station in the galaxy. Tai-Ho was sitting at his desk drinking his favorite green tea and looking at trade papers when every screen in the building started flashing bright, red lights. He had been working as a trade ambassador for 20 years and had never seen anything like this before. All around the station, aliens from different planets were running and shouting in their own languages. The communication center was going crazy with beeping sounds and warning signals that never stopped. Tai-Ho dropped his teacup and ran toward the main control room where hundreds of workers were staring at their screens with wide eyes and open mouths. The head of communications was a tall, blue-skinned alien named Yuna, who always stayed calm even during the worst problems. But today she was shaking as she pointed at the biggest screen in the room. The screen showed numbers and symbols moving so fast that nobody could read them properly. "What is happening?" Tai-Ho asked as he pushed through the crowd of worried aliens. "We got a signal from space," Yuna said, without taking her eyes off the screen. "But this is not like any signal we have ever seen before. It came from a small planet very far away in a part of space we never pay attention to. The signal was coming from something the star maps called Sol 3, which was just a tiny blue and green ball floating around a yellow sun. Most aliens in the galaxy knew about thousands of different planets, but nobody cared about Sol 3 because it seemed empty and boring. The computers said it was too far away and too small to have any smart life on it. But now this boring little planet was sending messages that were making all the smart computers in the galaxy work harder than they ever had before. The signal contained so much information that the main computer systems were getting hot and making strange noises. "Look at this," Yuna said as she pointed to another screen. "This part of the signal has math problems that our best scientists have been trying to solve for hundreds of years. And these beings from Sol 3 just sent us all the answers like it was easy homework." Tai-Ho felt his stomach drop as he looked at the equations on the screen. He was not a scientist, but he knew enough to understand that some of these math problems were so hard that entire planets full of smart aliens had been working on them for centuries, without success. "There is more," Yuna continued as she changed the screen to show different information. "They sent us maps of our own galaxy that are more detailed and correct than any maps we have ever made. They know about stars and planets that we have never discovered. They even know about the secret military bases that we thought nobody could find." The room became very quiet as everyone realized what this meant. The aliens from Sol 3 somehow knew more about the galaxy than the people who actually lived in it. This was impossible, because the Galactic Communication Network had no record of ever making contact with Sol 3. These beings had learned everything about space without any help from anyone. But the most shocking thing was still coming. Yuna pressed a button, and the speakers in the room started playing sounds that made everyone freeze in fear. The sounds were words in perfect galactic common language, spoken by a voice that sounded friendly and polite. "Greetings to the Galactic Council," the voice said. "We are the humans of Earth, also known as Sol 3. We have been observing your civilizations for some time, and we believe it is now appropriate to make formal contact. We have learned your languages and studied your cultures. We come with respect and friendship, and we hope to join the community of intelligent species in peaceful cooperation." The message continued for several more minutes, and each word made the aliens in the room more nervous. The humans spoke not just in Galactic Common, but also in 47 other languages, including some very old languages that nobody had used for thousands of years. They pronounced every word perfectly and used grammar that was better than most native speakers. "How did they learn all these languages?" Tai-Ho whispered to himself. The human voice continued. "We understand that first contact can be a difficult process, so we have prepared gifts of knowledge and technology to demonstrate our peaceful intentions. We have solved several scientific and medical problems that we noticed your civilizations have been struggling with. We hope these solutions will be helpful." Yuna quickly changed the screen to show the scientific data that came with the message. Her blue face turned even paler as she read through the information. These humans had sent detailed instructions for curing diseases that killed millions of aliens every year. They had also sent plans for machines that could create unlimited clean energy and devices that could make dead planets suitable for living. "This is impossible," she said while shaking her head. "No new species has ever arrived with this level of knowledge and technology. It takes thousands of years to develop these kinds of solutions, and they are giving them away for free like." Presence, Dae-Woo, the oldest and most experienced diplomat on the station, walked slowly to the front of the room. He had handled first contact situations with over 200 different species during his long career, but he looked confused and worried in. "All my years," he said in his deep voice, "I have never seen anything like this. When new species make contact with us, they usually ask for help or try to trade simple things like food or basic tools. They do not arrive speaking our languages perfectly and offering solutions to our biggest problems." The human message was not finished yet. The voice continued speaking with the same calm and friendly tone. "We have prepared a small diplomatic mission to meet with your council, if you are willing to receive us. We estimate that our ships will arrive at your location in approximately 3 weeks. We hope this gives you enough time to prepare for our visit." 3 weeks, Yuna shouted while looking at her computers. "Our deep space sensors show no ships anywhere near our system. How can they get here in 3 weeks from Sol 3? That journey should take at least 6 months, even with the fastest hyperspace drives." She ran more scans and checked all the sensor data twice, but the results were the same. There were no human ships visible anywhere in space. Yet somehow these beings were confident they could travel across the galaxy in just 3 weeks. This meant they had transportation technology that was far beyond anything the Galactic Council had ever seen. The message ended with a final statement that made everyone in the room feel very uncomfortable. "We look forward to meeting you and beginning what we hope will be a long and beneficial relationship between our peoples. Until then, we will continue our preparations and studies. We have much to learn from each other." After the message stopped playing, the room stayed quiet for a long time. Everyone was thinking the same thoughts, but nobody wanted to say them out loud. These humans, from the small forgotten planet, had just demonstrated intelligence and technology that surpassed most of the advanced civilizations in the galaxy. They had done this without any contact or help from anyone else. Tai-Ho finally broke the silence. "What do we do now?" he asked. Yuna looked at all the data on her screens and then at the worried faces around her. "I think," she said slowly, "we need to call an emergency meeting of the full Galactic Council. This is bigger than just first contact. This might change everything we know about our place in the universe." As alarms continued to ring throughout the station and reports came in from other systems that had also received the human message, everyone realized that their quiet, predictable galaxy was about to become a very different place. The humans were coming, and nobody knew what that would mean for the future. 3 weeks had passed since the human message arrived, and the entire Galactic Council was still trying to understand what was happening. Captain Hai-Jin stood in the main observation deck of Nexus Prime, watching the deep space sensors with growing confusion. She had been the head of galactic defense for 15 years and knew everything about space travel and ship movements, but what she was seeing on her screens made no sense at all. The sensors were picking up something moving toward their system, but it was not following any known laws of physics. The objects appeared to be ships, but they were traveling in ways that should have been impossible. They were not using hyperspace lanes like every other civilization in the galaxy. Instead, they seemed to be bending space itself around their vessels. "Look at this data," Min-Su said as he ran over to Captain Hai-Jin with his computer tablet. Min-Su was the best physics expert on the station, and he looked very excited and scared at the same time. "These ships are not just moving fast. They are changing the shape of space around them." Captain Hai-Jin took the tablet and looked at the numbers. The human ships were moving at speeds that broke every rule she knew about space travel. They were going faster than light, but without entering hyperspace. They were somehow folding the universe like a piece of paper and stepping from one side to the other. "This is not possible," she said while shaking her head. "Our computers must be making mistakes." No species has ever developed technology like this. Min-Su pointed to more data on his screen. I ran the calculations 20 times and checked all the equipment. The readings are correct. These humans have figured out how to manipulate space and time in ways that we thought were only possible in theory. The ancient architects who built the first galactic civilization never achieved anything close to this. The architects were legendary beings who had disappeared thousands of years ago, but left behind incredible technology that modern civilizations still could not fully understand. They were considered the most advanced species that had ever existed. Yet these humans from a small, unknown planet had somehow surpassed even their greatest achievements. The human ships were not just fast, they were also beautiful. Captain Hai-Jin watched on the long-range cameras as the vessels moved through space like dancers. They curved and flowed around stars and asteroids in perfect formation, never bumping into anything or making sudden jerky movements. It was like watching artists paint pictures in the darkness of space. "How many ships are there?" she asked. Min-Su counted the signals on his screen. 12 vessels. But they are unlike anything. In our database, they do not match any known ship design, and they are much smaller than our battleships. Yet the energy readings suggest they are far more powerful than our entire defense fleet. Captain Hai-Jin felt her heart sink. The Galactic Council had thousands of warships protecting their territory, and they were all useless against technology they could not understand. These 12 small human ships could probably defeat the entire galactic military without breaking a sweat. The human ships sent another message as they got closer to Nexus Prime. The same calm, friendly voice spoke in perfect galactic language. "Greetings to the beings of Nexus Prime. We are approaching your system as promised. We hope our arrival method has not caused alarm. We use different technology than your civilization, but we mean no harm, Captain." Hai-Jin looked at Min-Su with wide eyes. Different technology was the understatement of the century. These humans had rewritten the laws of physics and were treating it like a minor variation in engine design. The message continued. "We will arrive at your station in approximately 6 hours. We have brought gifts and representatives who are eager to meet with your council leaders. We hope this will be the beginning of a long friendship between our peoples." 6 hours, Captain Hai-Jin said to herself. The human ships had just been detected at the edge of their solar system, which should have meant they were still days away from reaching the station. But if their calculations were correct, the humans would be docking before dinner time. She called an emergency meeting of all department heads and military commanders. Everyone gathered in the main conference room looking nervous and confused. The room was filled with representatives from dozens of different alien species, all trying to understand what they were facing. Defense Minister Kyung-ho was the first to speak. "These humans have technology that makes our most advanced systems look like primitive tools. We have no way to stop them if they decide to attack us and no way to escape if they want to capture us." Trade Director Bo Young raised her hand, but their messages sound peaceful. They keep talking about friendship and gifts. Maybe they really do want to help us. Military analyst Ji-woo shook his head in disagreement. "That is what makes them so dangerous. Every conqueror in galactic history has claimed to come in peace before taking over entire civilizations. These humans are smart enough to lie to us while demonstrating power that we cannot resist." Captain Hai-Jin looked around the room at all the worried faces. She understood their fear. The humans had appeared from nowhere with impossible technology and were now approaching their most important space station. There was nothing anyone could do to stop them. The strangest part was how casually the humans treated their incredible abilities. They spoke about bending space and time, like other species talked about fixing broken equipment. They offered solutions to problems that had puzzled galactic scientists for centuries, as if they were sharing cooking recipes communications. Officer Day Min entered the room with new information. The human ships just sent detailed scans of our entire system. They know the location of every planet, moon, asteroid, and space station. They also identified several hidden military bases that are supposed to be secret. Captain Haya Jin felt cold fear spread through her body. How could the humans know about secret bases that were hidden using the most advanced stealth technology in the galaxy? Either their sensors were incredibly powerful, or they had been spying on the Galactic Council for much longer than anyone realized. The humans sent another message. We have completed our approach preparations and will begin final docking procedures in 1 hour. We have prepared comfortable environments for various species and look forward to meeting representatives from your diverse civilizations. 1 hour. Captain Hai Jin looked at the sensor displays. The human ships were now clearly visible through the station windows. They looked like pieces of liquid metal flowing through space, constantly changing shape and reflecting starlight in beautiful patterns. Each ship was different, but they all moved together in perfect harmony. Defense systems across the station tried to scan the human vessels, but every attempt failed. The ships seemed to absorb or deflect all sensor beams, making it impossible to learn anything about their construction or capabilities. It was like trying to examine shadows with a flashlight. The final message from the humans was the most unsettling yet. We want to assure you that our arrival represents an opportunity, not a threat. We have observed your civilizations for some time and have great respect for your achievements. We hope to share knowledge and learn from each other in the spirit of mutual cooperation, observed for some time. Captain Hai Jin repeated those words while staring at the approaching ships. The humans had been watching the Galactic Council secretly studying their technology, culture, and military capabilities. Nobody had detected them. Nobody had suspected they existed. As the 12 human vessels approached the docking stations of Nexus Prime, every being on the station realized that their universe had just become a much larger and more dangerous place. The humans were no longer coming. They were here, and nobody knew what would happen next. The age of Galactic Council supremacy was about to end, and something entirely new was about to begin. Dr. Bo Ram had been the Galactic Council's head of First Contact for 30 years and had welcomed over 300 different species into galactic civilization. She knew every protocol, every procedure, and every possible complication that could arise when meeting new aliens. But as she stood in the main docking bay, waiting for the humans to arrive, she felt more nervous than she had ever felt before. The docking bay had been prepared according to standard first contact procedures. Multiple atmosphere zones were set up to accommodate different breathing requirements, translation devices were positioned around the room, and security teams were hidden behind protective barriers just in case the new species turned out to be hostile. Everything about this situation was already breaking the normal rules. The humans had arrived with technology that surpassed most galactic civilizations. They had demonstrated knowledge of galactic affairs that should have been impossible to obtain. And they had done all of this while remaining completely invisible to every detection system in known space. Ambassador Ji Woo stood next to Dr. Bo Ram, adjusting his formal diplomatic robes for the 10th time in 5 minutes. He had handled hundreds of first contact situations, but never with a species that had already proven they were more advanced than the people welcoming them. "What if they think we are primitives?" he whispered to Dr. Bo Ram. "What if they decide we are not worth talking to?" Dr. Bo Ram tried to look calm, but inside she was asking herself the same questions. The standard first contact protocol assumed that the Galactic Council was the advanced civilization welcoming primitive newcomers into the galaxy. But the humans had flipped this assumption completely upside down. The airlock doors opened with a soft hissing sound, and everyone in the docking bay held their breath. The first human to step through was a woman who looked surprisingly similar to several humanoid species already in the council. She was not particularly tall or intimidating, but there was something about the way she moved that commanded attention. She walked with the confidence of someone who had seen wonders beyond imagination. Her eyes constantly observed everything around her, taking in details and analyzing the situation. She wore simple clothes that looked comfortable rather than formal, but somehow managed to appear more dignified than the elaborate ceremonial outfits worn by the Galactic representatives. The woman approached Dr. Bo Ram with a warm smile and spoke in perfect Galactic common. "Good day, I am President Su Jin, representing the United Government of Earth. We are honored to meet with the representatives of the Galactic Council, Doctor." Bo Ram was surprised by how normal the president seemed. Despite all the incredible technology and impossible achievements, the human leader acted like any other diplomat attending a routine meeting. She was neither arrogant about her species' superiority, nor intimidated by the alien environment around her. "Welcome to Nexus Prime," Dr. Bo Ram replied, following the standard greeting protocol. "On behalf of the Galactic Council, I extend our hospitality to you and your people. We are eager to learn about your civilization and discuss the possibility of membership in our community." President Su Jin smiled again and gestured toward the other humans who were entering the docking bay. "Thank you for your gracious welcome. We have brought several specialists who are excited to share knowledge with your experts. We believe there is much we can learn from each other." The other humans were just as surprising as their president. There was a scientist who immediately started friendly conversations with the Galactic researchers using technical terms that made even the experts look confused. There was an engineer who examined the docking bay equipment with obvious appreciation for its design, and there was a philosopher who began discussing galactic ethics and culture with more insight than most native species possessed. Dr. Bo Ram led the human delegation through the station toward the main conference hall. The journey normally took 20 minutes, but it stretched to over an hour because the humans kept stopping to ask intelligent questions about everything they saw. They wanted to know about the architecture, the technology, the art displayed on the walls, and the different species they encountered in the corridors. Their questions were not random curiosity, but showed deep understanding of engineering principles, cultural significance, and scientific applications. It was like giving a tour to people who already knew more about the subjects than the tour guide, but were too polite to say so. In the conference hall, President Su Jin presented what she called small gifts from Earth. She opened a simple case and began distributing devices that looked like nothing special, but made every scientist in the room gasp with amazement. "This is a basic medical scanner," she said while handing a small device to the chief medical officer. "It can detect and analyze any biological condition and provide treatment recommendations for most known species. We thought it might be useful for your medical facilities." The medical officer activated the device and immediately started reading information about his own health that was more detailed than anything the most advanced galactic hospitals could provide. The scanner had identified 3 minor conditions that no other equipment had detected and suggested treatments that could improve his overall health. President Su Jin continued distributing gifts, a portable energy generator that could power an entire city district for years, without any fuel or maintenance, a computational core that processed information faster than the station's main computer system, a communication device that could translate any language, including several that the humans had apparently figured out on their own. Each gift was presented casually as if it were a simple trinket, rather than technology that could revolutionize entire civilizations. President Su Jin explained the functions of each device using basic terms that anyone could understand. But the implications were staggering. Dr. Bo Ram realized that the humans were not just more advanced. They operated on a completely different level of understanding. They had solved problems that the galaxy's best minds had been working on for centuries, and they treated these solutions like everyday tools. The most unsettling moment came when one of the human scientists, Dr. Min Jung, began discussing the various galactic species with knowledge that seemed impossible. She talked about genetic patterns, evolutionary histories, and cultural developments across dozens of worlds, despite humans having made official contact only hours earlier. "How do you know so much about our civilizations?" Ambassador Ji Woo asked with obvious suspicion. Dr. Min Jung smiled, politely. "We are naturally curious people. We have been observing and learning about galactic affairs for some time. We find other cultures and species fascinating and have spent considerable effort studying your achievements, observing for some time." Dr. Bo Ram thought to herself. The phrase kept appearing in human statements, but nobody wanted to ask exactly how long they had been watching or how much they had seen. The implications were too frightening to consider directly. The human delegation continued to demonstrate casual superiority disguised as friendship. They answered every question with more knowledge than the questioner possessed. They offered solutions to problems that most species had not even recognized. And they did all of this while maintaining perfect politeness and expressing genuine interest in galactic culture. As the day continued, Dr. Bo Ram realized that every assumption about first contact had been wrong. The humans were not seeking to join galactic civilization. They were offering to let galactic civilization join something much larger and more advanced. The balance of power had shifted completely, and nobody knew what would happen next. The meeting ended with President Su Jin expressing hope for continued friendship and cooperation. But everyone in the room understood that the galaxy had just encountered something that would change everything forever. Secretary General Jun Ho had been preparing for the final council session about Earth's membership application for 2 weeks, but he still had no idea what to say. The standard procedures for evaluating new civilizations had become completely useless when applied to humans. How do you test spaceflight capabilities when they casually bend space and time? How do you assess cultural development when they have been secretly studying your civilization for centuries? The Great Council Chamber was filled with representatives from every major civilization in the galaxy. Thousands of beings from hundreds of different worlds had gathered to decide how to respond to humanity's request to join galactic society, but everyone knew this was not really about membership anymore. Counselor Yuna called the session to order, and the massive chamber fell silent. She looked tired and worried as she addressed the assembled delegates. "We are here to discuss the application of the species known as humans for membership in the Galactic Council. However, the events of the past month have shown us that this is not a typical first contact situation." Secretary General Jun Ho stood to present his report, but he felt foolish trying to use normal evaluation procedures. The humans had already demonstrated technology that surpassed anything in the galaxy. They had shown knowledge that exceeded the Council's own databases, and they had revealed capabilities that made traditional concepts of power and diplomacy meaningless. How do we evaluate a species for basic spaceflight capability? He asked the assembly when they have already mastered space-time manipulation. How do we assess their readiness for galactic contact when they have been observing us for centuries without being detected? Murmurs spread through the chamber as delegates realized the absurdity of the situation. The membership evaluation process assumed that the Galactic Council was the advanced civilization welcoming primitive newcomers, but the humans had reversed this relationship completely. Defense Minister Kyung Ho stood to address military concerns. "Our entire defense strategy is based on controlling access to advanced technology and maintaining superior capabilities. The humans possess technology that makes our most powerful weapons look like children's toys. They could conquer the entire galaxy without effort, yet they sit patiently waiting for us to approve their membership application." Trade Director Bo Young raised economic issues. Our galactic economy is built on scarcity and resource management. The humans can create anything they need from basic materials using their universal conversion technology. What happens to trade and commerce when one species can produce unlimited goods without cost? The questions continued for hours, and each one highlighted how fundamentally the humans had changed everything. Cultural expert Min Jung pointed out that human knowledge of galactic civilizations was more complete than what those civilizations knew about themselves. Intelligence Director Yun Bi explained how human observation capabilities made privacy impossible. Scientific advisor Chan Wu described how human technology had made galactic research obsolete. President Su Jin and her delegation sat quietly throughout the discussions, occasionally offering helpful suggestions when debates became particularly confused. They showed no impatience or frustration as the council struggled. With impossible questions, they waited like patient teachers watching students work through difficult problems. Finally, Counselor Yuna stood to address the fundamental issue. We are debating whether to admit the humans to our council, but perhaps we should be asking whether our council deserves to exist in the same galaxy as their civilization. The chamber became very quiet as delegates considered her words. The Galactic Council had ruled space for thousands of years by maintaining technological and military superiority over member worlds, but the humans had made those advantages completely irrelevant. President Su Jin requested permission to speak, and Counselor Yuna granted it immediately. The human leader walked to the center of the chamber and addressed the assembly with the same calm, friendly manner she had maintained throughout their visit. Honored representatives, she said, her voice carrying clearly through the vast space. We appreciate the time and effort you have devoted to considering our application. We understand that our arrival has created unusual circumstances. She paused and looked around at the thousands of alien faces watching her. We want you to know that we have great respect for what you have accomplished. The Galactic Council has maintained peace and prosperity across many worlds for millennia. This is an achievement that deserves recognition and admiration. But President Su Jin continued. We also recognize that our presence here represents a significant change. We do not wish to disrupt the stability you have created or impose our ways upon your civilizations. Secretary General Jun Ho felt a moment of hope. Maybe the humans would agree to some kind of limited partnership that would preserve existing galactic institutions. However, President Su Jin's next words destroyed that possibility. We believe that the time has come for the galaxy to join a larger community. We have made contact with civilizations in other galaxies and have been preparing to introduce your worlds to this broader universe, other galaxies. Secretary General Jun Ho felt his mind struggling to process what he had just heard. The humans had not only mastered their own galaxy, they were part of an intergalactic civilization that spanned multiple universes. The chamber erupted in shocked voices as delegates tried to understand the implications. Civilizations that could travel between galaxies possessed power beyond imagination. The Galactic Council had been governing a tiny corner of one galaxy while thinking they ruled the universe. President Su Jin waited for the noise to settle before continuing. We have several other human expeditions exploring different regions of this galaxy, making contact with civilizations that the Council has not yet discovered. We estimate that there are approximately 47,000 intelligent species in your galaxy, most of whom have never heard of the Galactic Council. 47,000 species, Secretary General Jun Ho realized that everything they thought they knew about the galaxy was wrong. The Council governed a few hundred worlds while thinking they had cataloged most intelligent life, but they had barely scratched the surface of what existed. We would like to invite the Galactic Council to participate in the integration of your galaxy into the larger community. President Su Jin said with a warm smile. Your experience in interspecies cooperation will be valuable as we work to establish peaceful relationships with all civilizations. Counselor Yuna stood slowly and looked around the chamber at all the confused and frightened faces. She had been a leader for 40 years and had faced many difficult decisions, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. Behalf of the Galactic Council, she said, her voice carrying across the silent chamber, I formally request that our organization be permitted to join the human interstellar community. We recognize that you represent a level of advancement that we can only aspire to reach. The vote was unanimous, though, mostly because nobody could think of any alternative. President Su Jin accepted the Council's request with genuine pleasure and welcomed everyone to what she called the larger conversation as. The session concluded. President Su Jin mentioned casually that human exploration teams were already working with newly discovered civilizations across the galaxy. The age of the Galactic Council as the supreme authority in space had ended before most of its members even realized it had begun. Secretary General Jun Ho looked around the chamber one last time as delegates filed out in stunned silence. The galaxy would never be the same, and perhaps that was exactly what it needed. The humans had arrived, and the universe had just become infinitely larger and more wonderful than anyone had ever imagined. Trade negotiator Chan Wu had been trying to sleep for 3 days, but his mind would not stop racing. The demonstration had ended a week ago, but he kept thinking about everything the humans had shown them. He was supposed to be working on trade agreements. But how do you negotiate with people who can create anything they need from basic materials? His computer beeped with an urgent message from the intelligence department. Intelligence analyst Unveils wanted to meet with him immediately about classified information regarding the human visitors. Chan Wu felt his stomach drop, because classified meetings usually meant very bad news. He found Unveils in her secure office, surrounded by computer screens, displaying data about human activities. Her normally calm expression was replaced by obvious worry, and she gestured for him to sit down. Quickly. Chan Wu, she said while locking the door behind him. We have discovered something about these humans that changes everything we thought we knew about our situation. What did you find? He asked, though. Part of him did not want to hear the answer. Yunbi activated her main display screen, showing communication logs and sensor data. We have been analyzing all the information we can gather about human capabilities, and we found something that explains how they know so much about galactic affairs. They have been monitoring our communications for decades. Chan Wu felt cold fear spread through his body. Monitoring communications meant the humans had been listening to every conversation, every negotiation, every secret plan that the Galactic Council had made for years. They had watched wars, celebrations, private diplomatic meetings, and personal discussions without anyone knowing they existed. How is that possible? He asked. Our communication systems use the most advanced encryption in the galaxy. Unveils changed the display to show technical analysis. Human technology is so far beyond ours that our encryption is like trying to keep secrets by whispering in a crowded room. They can read our most secure communications as easily as reading children's books. The implications were staggering. The humans had not just accidentally discovered the galaxy, they had been studying it deliberately and systematically. They knew about every species, every government, every military capability, and every weakness, because they had been invisible observers for decades. Chan Wu thought about all the diplomatic secrets he had been involved in over the years: trade negotiations, military strategies, political alliances, and intelligence operations. The humans knew about all of it. They had watched the galaxy's civilizations like scientists studying animals in a laboratory. There is more. Unveils continued. The data suggests that human observation capabilities are not limited to communications. They can monitor any activity anywhere in the galaxy without being detected. Their sensors are so advanced that hiding from them is impossible. Chan Wu realized that privacy had been an illusion for years. Every species in the galaxy thought they had secrets, but the humans had been watching everything. They had seen the good, the bad, and the embarrassing moments of every civilization without anyone suspecting their presence. What else do they know? He asked. Everything. Yunbi replied while showing him more data. They know about secret military bases, hidden research projects, political corruption, and even personal relationships between government officials. They have been creating detailed profiles of every important person in galactic politics. Chan Wu looked at the profiles displayed on the screen. The humans had compiled information about galactic leaders that was more complete than what those leaders knew about themselves. They had analyzed behavioral patterns, predicted decision-making processes, and identified psychological strengths and weaknesses. But the most disturbing discovery was still coming. Yunbi opened a new file containing analysis of human statements during their visit. When President Su Jin said they had been observing for some time, she was not talking about a few years or even a few decades. How long, Chan Wu whispered, based on their knowledge of historical events, political developments, and cultural evolution patterns. The humans have been watching us for at least 200 years, Yunbi said while showing timeline analysis. They know about events that happened before most of our current governments existed. 200 years meant that humans had been secret observers through multiple wars, political changes, technological developments, and social evolution. They had watched civilizations rise and fall while remaining completely undetected. They had studied the galaxy like a long-term research project. Chan Wu felt sick as he realized what this meant. The humans had not stumbled upon galactic civilization by accident. They had been preparing for contact for centuries, learning languages, studying cultures, analyzing military capabilities, and developing strategies for interaction. The demonstration with the terraforming technology had been carefully planned to show just enough capability to impress the Council without revealing the full extent of human advancement. Every gift, every answer, every casual display of knowledge had been calculated to produce specific reactions. President Su Jin had mentioned that their diplomatic mission was just a small scientific expedition. This meant that the incredible technology and knowledge they had displayed represented basic capabilities, not their most advanced achievements. The humans had been holding back, showing only what they thought primitive civilizations could safely handle. Yunbi activated another display showing energy readings from the human ships. Our sensors have been trying to analyze their vessels since they arrived, but we can only measure about 10% of their actual capabilities. The ships are using technology that our instruments cannot even detect properly. Chan Wu looked at the partial readings and felt his mind struggling to process the implications. If the human ships were only showing 10% of their capabilities, then their actual power was beyond measurement. They could probably destroy the entire galactic civilization without any effort. The humans had been patient observers for centuries, but now they had decided to reveal themselves. This suggested that either they had learned everything, they wanted to know, or something had changed that made continued secrecy unnecessary. What do they want from us? Chan Wu asked. That is the question that keeps me awake at night. Yunbi replied, they have technology that makes our entire civilization irrelevant. They know everything about us and we know almost nothing about them. They could take anything they wanted without asking permission. Yet the humans continued to act friendly and polite. They offered gifts, shared knowledge, and expressed interest in cooperation. But their overwhelming superiority made every interaction feel like adults pretending to have serious conversations with small children. Chan Wu realized that traditional diplomacy had become meaningless. How do you negotiate with beings who know all your secrets, have unlimited resources, and possess technology that borders on magic? How do you maintain dignity when the other party has been secretly studying you for centuries? The most frightening thought was wondering what the humans had not yet revealed. If their basic technology could terraform planets in hours, and their simple gifts could revolutionize galactic science. Then, what were their actual advanced capabilities? President Sujin had mentioned research. Projects involving universal matter conversion, dimensional folding, and consciousness integration. These phrases suggested abilities that were closer to godlike powers than advanced technology. Yeonbi closed her files and looked directly at Chan. "Wu, we need to tell the council leadership about this, but I am not sure how they will react. Learning that we have been secretly observed for centuries while thinking we were the advanced civilization in the galaxy, Chan." Wu nodded while trying to process everything he had learned. The comfortable assumption that the Galactic Council represented the pinnacle of civilization had been completely destroyed. The humans had been watching, laughing at their primitive technology and waiting for the right moment to introduce themselves. The galaxy was about to learn that they were not alone, and they were definitely not in charge. The humans had arrived, and everything was going to change, whether the galactic civilizations wanted it to or not. Counselor Yuna had spent 3 sleepless nights trying to understand what the humans were really capable of. The gifts they had presented were incredible, but she suspected they were only seeing the surface of human technology. She needed to know exactly what Earth could do before making any decisions about galactic policy. The demonstration would take place in Complex 7, the most advanced testing facility in the galaxy. The complex was designed to safely evaluate dangerous new technologies and had contained explosions that could destroy entire moons. It seemed like the right place to see what humans could really accomplish, Engineer. Kyung-ho arrived at the complex early to prepare the testing equipment. He had overseen thousands of technology evaluations during his career and prided himself on never being surprised by anything. But as he watched the human team set up their demonstration, he felt his confidence disappearing. The humans had brought what they called a standard terraforming unit, which looked like a collection of metal boxes that could fit in a small room. Engineer Kyung-ho knew that galactic terraforming required massive machines the size of cities and construction crews working for hundreds of years. But the humans claimed their device could transform dead rocks into garden worlds in just a few months. "This cannot work," he muttered to himself while watching the humans connect their equipment with casual efficiency. Dr. Min Jung, the human scientist, overheard his comment and smiled warmly. "Would you like me to explain how it functions?" The basic principle involves atmospheric manipulation, soil enrichment, and accelerated ecological development through controlled environmental factors. Engineer. Kyung-ho listened as she described processes that sounded simple in theory, but required technology far beyond anything the galaxy possessed. The humans talked about reshaping planetary atmospheres like gardeners discussing flower arrangements. They mentioned creating entire ecosystems as if they were mixing ingredients for cooking. The demonstration began with the humans activating their terraforming unit on a small asteroid that had been brought into the testing facility. The asteroid was completely lifeless, just bare rock floating in space with no atmosphere, water, or soil. It was the kind of dead space debris that littered every solar system. President Sujin operated the controls with the same casual attitude she had shown. Throughout their visit, "This will take about 6 hours for a demonstration-sized result," she explained to the gathered observers. On a full planet, the process requires more time, but follows the same principles. The first thing that happened was the asteroid began to change color. Instruments detected that the human device was somehow altering the molecular structure of the rock itself, creating soil and minerals that could support life. Then a thin atmosphere began forming around the asteroid, as the machine extracted gases from space and concentrated them into breathable air. Engineer Kyung-ho checked his sensors repeatedly, but the readings were consistent. The humans were performing planetary engineering on a scale and speed that made galactic terraforming technology look like primitive tools children might use to play in dirt. The most amazing part came when the atmosphere stabilized and the human device began introducing plant life seeds materialized out of nowhere and immediately started growing in the newly created soil. Within hours, the asteroid was covered in green plants that looked healthy and vibrant. "How did you do that?" Engineer Kyung-ho asked while staring at the impossible sight. "The plants," Dr. Min-jung explained with a smile. "We keep genetic templates for thousands of suitable species and can reproduce them as needed. The ecological balance is carefully calculated to ensure sustainable development genetic templates." Engineer Kyung-ho realized that the humans had somehow cataloged and stored the genetic information for entire ecosystems. They could create life itself on demand, using technology that made the most advanced galactic laboratories seem worthless. But the real shock came when Dr. Min-jung began discussing the different alien species in the testing facility with knowledge that exceeded even the Galactic Council's own databases. She talked about genetic patterns, evolutionary paths, and biological development across dozens of worlds. As if she had personally studied every species for years. "You know more about us than we know about ourselves," Counselor Yuna said, with growing alarm. Dr. Min-jung looked slightly embarrassed. "We are naturally curious people," she said, using the same phrase humans kept repeating. "We have been studying galactic civilizations for some time and find the diversity of life fascinating. Each species has unique adaptations and cultural developments that provide valuable insights, studying for some time." Counselor Yuna thought about those words with increasing dread. The humans had been secretly observing the galaxy, learning about every species, understanding their strengths and weaknesses, while remaining completely invisible to detection engineer. Kyung-ho tried to measure the energy output of the human terraforming device, but his instruments kept displaying error messages. The readings exceeded every calibration limit he had ever seen. It was like trying to measure the heat of a star with a thermometer designed for room temperature. The human technology was operating on principles that galactic science had not even discovered yet. They were manipulating matter and energy in ways that seemed closer to magic than engineering. Yet they treated these incredible abilities as routine everyday tools. President Su-jin noticed the confusion among the galactic observers and offered to explain more about human capabilities. "We have brought technical specifications for some of our basic equipment," she said while producing data tablets. "If your scientists would like to study our methods, we are happy to share information. Basic equipment." Engineer Kyung-ho looked at the specifications and felt his mind struggling to understand what he was reading. The humans were offering to share technology that was thousands of years ahead of galactic science, and they called it basic equipment. "What do you consider advanced technology?" Counselor Yuna asked with obvious fear. President Su-jin considered the question thoughtfully. "We have research projects working on universal matter, conversion, dimensional folding, and consciousness integration. But those are still experimental and not ready for practical use." Universal matter conversion meant the humans could transform any substance into any other substance. Dimensional folding suggested they could manipulate space itself in ways that made their impossible space travel seem simple, and consciousness integration implied abilities that bordered on reading minds or controlling thoughts. The demonstration continued for several more hours, with the humans casually displaying technology that redefined what was possible. They showed devices that could generate unlimited clean energy, scanners that could detect problems in living beings that no other equipment could find, and computers that processed information faster than entire planetary networks. Each new revelation made the galactic observers more uncomfortable. The humans were not just slightly more advanced, they were operating in a completely different category of existence. They had solved problems that other species had not even recognized and created tools that seemed to violate the basic laws of physics. As the demonstration ended, Engineer Kyung-ho realized that everything he knew about technology and science had just become obsolete. The humans had shown capabilities that made the most advanced galactic civilizations look like primitive tribes playing. with sticks and stones. The worst part was how polite and friendly the humans remained throughout the entire demonstration. They answered questions with patience, offered to share their knowledge freely, and expressed genuine interest in galactic culture. But their casual superiority was more intimidating than any aggressive display of power could have been. Counselor Yuna looked around at the other galactic representatives and saw the same realization in their eyes. The balance of power in the galaxy had not just shifted, it had been completely destroyed. The humans were so far ahead that traditional concepts of diplomacy, trade, and military strength had become meaningless. The demonstration was over, but the real test was just beginning. How could the Galactic Council deal with beings who possessed God-like technology while maintaining friendly smiles and offering gifts like generous neighbors?